Zoe and the Mermaids. At last it was the summer holidays, and the fairies were enjoying a day at the fairies' special beach, where the sun always shines and the sea is just the right temperature for swimming in. As soon as they arrived, the fairies scattered along the beach, splashing, playing and swimming. After Zoe and Pip went swimming in the sea, they decided to build a sandcastle. "Wouldn't it be great if we saw some mermaids here?" Zoe said, as they made their way back to the Fairy Queen. "We'll have to keep an eye out," Pip replied. They told the Fairy Queen that they were going further down the beach, where there were fewer fairies and more sand, and that they were on the lookout for mermaids. "I'm not certain you'll see any mermaids," the Fairy Queen said, "but see if you can find me a pretty shell instead." Zoe and Pip found the perfect spot and started digging. The sandcastle got bigger and bigger. They were so busy that they didn't see the large crab looking at their spade. Suddenly, the crab grabbed the spade in one of his claws and raced towards the water's edge. Zoe and Pip ran after him as fast as they could. They lost sight of the crab as they reached the water's edge. "Let's look over the other side of this rock and see if he's there," suggested Zoe. They very carefully flew and climbed up the steep slope. When they got to the top, they couldn't believe their eyes. Right there in front of them was a real live mermaid. But then they heard the sound of crying, so they climbed down the rocks to ask what was wrong. "My sister is stuck under some coral and I can't get her out," sobbed the mermaid. "The sea cucumber is staying with her while I try to find help." Zoe and Pip knew right away that they had to help. They used their magic to make bubbles over their heads so they could breathe underwater, and used their wands to light their way. Under the water, it was beautiful. Zoe and Pip were enchanted by all the colourful sea creatures. But there was no time to linger. They had to get to the mermaid's sister. When they reached the trapped mermaid, they tried together with all their might to pull her out. But it was no good. She was stuck fast. Just when Zoe was coming up with another idea, something very large floated over them. "Quick, hide!" said Pip. "It looks like a shark!" The shark swam directly over them, casting a huge shadow, and everything went dark. The fairies, the mermaid, and the sea cucumber held their breath as the shark slowly moved past. It was a long time after the shark had passed before anyone moved or made a sound. "I think it is safe now," said Zoe. "Why don't we try some magic?" The mermaid seemed to move a little, and Zoe and Pip concentrated very hard. But just as they thought she was starting to come free, the shark returned. "Quickly, one more go!" shouted Zoe, and they concentrated with all their might on the wands, and the mermaid struggled free. Zoe and Pip turned to face the shark. "Now wave your wand hard," Pip said. "I think if we can cast the right spell, all the shark's teeth will fall out." Both fairies waved their wands for all they were worth, and watched as the shark's teeth came loose and drifted to the ocean floor. The surprised shark swam away as fast as he could. "Whew!" said Zoe. "That was close." The mermaids were so happy to be safe that they gave Zoe and Pip as many hugs as they could, and the rescued mermaid gave the fairies her necklace of shells to share. Swoosh! By now, Zoe and Pip knew they needed to get back to the other fairies, so they said goodbye to the sea cucumber, held on tight to the mermaid's tail, and swoosh! Moments later, they were back on the beach. They popped their bubbles and waved goodbye to the mermaids. "Look, Pip!" exclaimed Zoe. "There's our spade!" The sea seemed to be returning it to them with the waves. Back at the beach, Zoe and Pip presented the Fairy Queen with the shell necklace. "How lovely!" the Fairy Queen said. "Now isn't finding beautiful shells better than finding mermaids?" Zoe and Pip looked at each other and smiled.